fucking hell. Says he's thinking about fucking Julius Caesar, and the next minute he's talking about trans. The fuck where does his brain? What's wrong with him?
Yeah, we know what's wrong with him.
He hasn't took his tablets. All right, fucking. Let's just start anyway. We're fucking in it now.
All right. So,
welcome back.
Episode 2.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the first episode. Sounds like some pretty positive feedback, isn't it?
I agree. Good to catch up with you. So
always.
I think from the last time we spoke, probably about just over a week ago now, wasn't it? We spoke about routine, getting in habits, and how we'd obviously had really good habits at the start of the year, January, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have you kind of thought a bit more into that, and are you doing anything now in terms of have you got yourself back into a routine or anything?
Well, like we said, in January, for the people who didn't fully clock on the last episode, was when we were practicing monk mode, which is I guess you'd say kind of like a reset. I'd call it like a period of immersion, a time where you can just lock the fuck in. People know exactly what you're doing, and you have a set of non-negotiables that you want to live by. Now, what was your original question?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, have you set anything in terms of habits or anything?
Yeah,
so
the non-negotiables that I set for myself going into again, we've had kind of like a mini monk mode, and then we're gonna hopefully transition into like monk month in August, innit? So I guess the main thing for me was meditation, water, exercise, and some kind of education on a daily basis. So those are kind of like my main non-negotiables: a litre of water, 100 push-ups a day, an hour of reading, and at least half an hour of meditation.
I think that's a pretty solid start, to be honest. And I think it's good that we're doing this because I don't know how it's actually not spoken about a lot, this whole monk mode. Obviously, it stemmed from Iman Gartzi, who's obviously an SMMA agency owner and business entrepreneur. That's what probably people know him as mainly. Yeah. And obviously pushing things on YouTube a lot. If you
shout
don't
out
know
to Iman.
shout out to Iman. If you don't know about Iman, go and look him up. That's IMAN. So he obviously bought this whole monk mode thing around about a year ago. I think it was at the start of January.
I think it was loosely floating around, and then he like cemented it as his thing.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously he's been successful with building habits, building those non-negotiables, and doing them for a set time frame of 30 days, and then maybe building it up to 60, 75, 90 days, depending on kind of how many times you've done it and that kind of thing. So I don't think really it's actually stemmed from anywhere, because I think monk mode's quite a loose term in the sense that, like, what is a monk?
Exactly. When you hear it originally, and when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this must be some traditional Tibetan monk tradition that goes centuries back. But it isn't at all. It doesn't have any kind of originality. Not originality. It doesn't really have any roots to it. As to where it kind of came from or was conjured from, and then to hear that it was just kind of loosely about, and then Iman just kind of really coined the term and kind of used it to the to a beneficial reason. Well, it's wild.
Because I think I would personally say a monk. Again, I don't know too much about monks, and I haven't done loads of research into them. So if there are any monks out there watching this,
don't be offended.
Don't be offended, but you're probably not watching because you're doing your own thing.
You're probably in monk mode at the moment.
Yeah. So I think the way I've kind of thought of it is they detach themselves from the world for a simple life, basically.
Yes.
And I think one thing I had heard is detachment doesn't mean you own nothing. Detachment doesn't mean you don't own anything. Yeah. Detachment means nothing owns you, right? So what I mean by that is real detachment is being close to everything, but not falling for everything. So we're in a world now of, like, you've got your social media, you've got your PlayStation, you've got your Xbox, but you've got your non-negotiables. Netflix. It's all about picking up what's right rather than, again, what's easy.
What's easy?
Yeah. So that's probably the way I always think about it. And, like,
what habits have you set in stone?
So
non-negotiables for you.
Again, I don't do an hour of reading. Mine's probably just I don't set a time on it. I'll read if that night.
10 pages.
10 pages. If it's 50 pages, because I don't think reading's one of those things where you want to sit there if you don't want to read.
100%.
You're not going to take it in.
Yeah.
So I've got my reading. Obviously, I'm in a dieting phase at the minute, so I've got 45 on the Stairmaster every day.
Yeah.
Treadmill, bike, whatever you want to call it. I've got meditation. Again, I've got no time cap on it. Probably just about 10, 20 minutes, I'd say, in the morning, at night. I probably do both of them sometimes. And that's about it. And I think those are kind of a good base to start with, because I think to the people who are watching this and haven't done a monk mode before, you don't want to go into too many.
You don't want to overdo it.
You don't want to overdo
especially on your first one. Like, it's something that is supposed to be a reset, a immersion period, a time for you to lock in and everyone else to know exactly what the fuck you're doing in that time. So if it's something that you haven't already done previously for your first one, I'd recommend maybe just doing 21 days, because at least in 21 days you can start to build a habit, and then have some non-negotiables. It could just be something as simple as do 10 push-ups. There's a bunch of other things that you can do onto it. It's good to have a standard 3 that you want to stick to, and then you could add maybe 1 to 3 extra ones on top of that if you want to have like screen time, like a reduction in screen time, or pray once a day or something, or just actually get outside into the air for some fresh air. But like you said, you don't want to overdo it. There's absolutely no point saying to yourself, I'm going to do 90 days. I'm going to read for 6 hours a day. I'm going to do 700 push-ups. Like, bro, okay, that sounds great on paper, but you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it.
This is exactly how we started the year. This is exactly how we started the year, and we fell flat on our asses, didn't we? Literally flat on our faces. I've seen you waking up at 4:30 in the morning with a full suit on, literally working from 4:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, no balance, and like, if you weren't doing something productive, if you said, just put a film on tonight, there's nothing wrong with putting a film on after you've done all of your non-negotiables or listening to something, that's educational. And I'll be saying, come on, like, you could be on a jog now, you could be on a sprint. And we were doing it all the way down to, freezing cold showers in the morning and that kind of thing. Just everything you can think of. I started to get mouth ulcers by the end of the 30 days or 90 days, whatever we did.
Bro, I started getting to the point where I started looking at the suit and I just started hating my suits, bro. Yeah. Like, I ain't putting that on at 5 in the morning, bro. But yeah, to kind of get back to this, the route and the what do you think what's the point in monk mode, Ed?
Why would you do a monk mode?
Yeah, why would you do a monk mode? What, for the people out there, because to them it sounds like torture.
Yeah.
We're describing it like torture, but wake up at 5, make sure, cold shower, wear the suit. Yeah. Like, why would someone want to put themselves through? Again, what we were doing in January, bearing in mind, was an extreme. We were on the extreme.
And we wouldn't go back to that. We wouldn't go back to that.
No way, not at all. And I guess we learnt the hard way, that way. So what would you say the benefit is, and what's the point of doing a monk mode?
So I heard...
For you, anyway.
Okay, so I heard something the other day, and this one hit me. So those who do not move do not realise they're chained. And I thought, oh my God.
Wow.
People...
I did a soundboard.
They're stuck in their rut. Wow. They're stuck in their rut, and they don't realise it, and that's the problem. This 30 days or 21 days, even 7 days, you want to write down things that you want to do. And the thing is, people don't trust themselves. You need to do these 3 small things just to go, okay, I can actually build up a bit of trust in myself now. Because I can go, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. And then you just don't wake up, or you think, I'll do it tomorrow, And if you can't trust yourself, who else can trust you? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good place to start. So I think it's all about building a habit, trusting yourself, and not going too big for the first one. You can go big in about 3 or 4 of them, but just get used to doing it.
Well, and this goes another layer of what is the benefit of creating a habit, or a positive habit, which in my opinion, I would say the benefit of creating a positive habit would be it sets the foundation and the building blocks for long-term success.
Yeah,
habits create long-term habits create long-term success.
Facts.
If you're doing something every single day that has a positive impact on health, education, physique, whatever it is, then you do that consistently for a long enough time, you're going to be better than everyone else at it because you've been consistently doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it comes back to, I don't want to keep chiming on about what we said last week, but it does come back to that instant gratification, doesn't it? It's all these little 1% things that make the difference. I was saying about when I'd read a bit of Atomic Habits the other week, and England had won no cycling championships within the last 10 years. They brought in this guy who changed like literally just 100 things, but to a very minute detail that you wouldn't really think that would make a difference. So things like having heated compression shorts and heated compression seats to obviously make sure the muscles are warm for the cyclists so they're not cramping up. Painting the bus white so they can see every speck of dust so the athletes don't get ill. All these little minute details. Yeah. And then obviously that led to the longest championship reign in British history and I think national history
So yeah, again,
in cycling, all
proofs
your
to the
little
pudding.
habits. Yeah.
Proofs to the pudding. One thing we forgot to do at the start of this podcast, Saunders,
Yep.
was give a shout out.
Oh,
we did. We forgot
okay.
to give a
So
shout
just
out.
before we started this podcast, we just unfortunately found out the terrible news that Sinead O'Connor's died. So I want to say rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor. Not someone who I particularly listen to, but obviously always listen to her walkout songs in McGregor's walkouts and that kind of thing. So
it's always sad to hear that a human being has passed away, especially someone who's contributed so much to kind of the UFC and it might not even seem like a massive contribution, but
Ireland,
definitely.
So a big shout out to her. I wouldn't have even really known about Sinead O'Connor if it wasn't for people like McGregor. So yeah. Big up to her, and shout out to Ireland as well. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, definitely.
Getting
back to go on. What you gonna say?
So I was just going to say, in terms of the habits that you were just saying as well, I think one thing that I want everyone to do who's listening to this today, and I was telling you this the other day, write down your habits. Write down everything you do from when you wake up until you go to bed, whether it's drinking a bottle of water or having a fizzy can of pop, or playing your PlayStation or reading a book. Anything that you do in the day. And I'm not talking about like taking a shower, because that's kind of a mandatory thing that you should be doing anyway, unless you're not taking a shower, which I would highly advise. But I mean, write everything down, and then I want you to write next to it whether it's a positive or a negative, and you really can see how many things in your life that are actually wrong. Positive or negative. Do I actually need to do this?
It's such a personal audit on yourself that we don't do. It's like meditation, and it's like. There's so much, again, we were saying it last week, I don't want to repeat myself, but there's so much noise going on, text, Netflix, family, friends, phone, that you never have a time to just lock in with your own thoughts and just think. And I think that's so important to self-audit yourself and put yourself in a position where, here's where I'm going wrong. And kind of like what you said, I think, did you just mention about Atomic Habits?
Yeah.
Exactly that. Atomic Habits, the motto that I kind of live by is 1% better every day, innit?
Yeah.
And that's all you can do is see. I think Jordan Peterson talks about it as well. He says, look at the things that you're doing, and what is one thing that you could do differently tomorrow that will increase your chance of being a better person.
Exactly.
And that's all it comes down to, innit?
But it's the same thing, like you're going to read a book, you can read 10 pages in that day, and you might get a good little one-liner or a bit of knowledge out of it, but you've got to do it over a year or 2 or 3 to get all that wisdom and knowledge out of so many books. You can't just do it out of one. I think one other thing that I wanted to touch on before I move on was on habits and things. Visualize what your dream life looks like. Visualize everything, to the car that you drive in, to the house that you're coming home to the woman that you're coming home to.
When you say visualization, and sorry to cut you off, what do you mean by visualization? Because it seems pretty much straightforward, common sense. You visualize what you want, that kind of life. But I feel like people have it like for example, when I was talking to you about maybe your thoughts in meditation and visualization definitely come under the same umbrella, because it's easier to visualize while you're meditating and your eyes are closed. You said it was kind of hard to like visualize, or like when I was saying be with your thoughts, it was just like, I want to make dinner. Like what? How would you advise someone to start their visualization?
So that's a good point, because I think, like I said the last time, I think 7 days it probably takes to get into a meditation, maybe a month or whatever. So you can't really visualize before that. You just need to get comfy being,
in
still.
Your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. So for people who can't do that, I'd probably personally go for just having a look of what you actually think, like not necessarily going through Instagram and looking at other people's stuff and going, I want that, but similar to you. So when we were moving all your stuff the other week, you had that wall board, don't you? You've got what car you want. You've got your sons on there. You've got every last little minute detail down to the certain watch that you want.
Yeah.
And think about those every day. Put it somewhere where you can see it, because every day you wake up, are you getting closer to that, or are you going away from it? And you need to know that. And I think on the contrary to that, as well as making the dream life, let's think about the nightmare life. When I say a nightmare life, I don't mean you're going to burn in hell for the rest of eternity.
Yeah.
But a lot of the nightmare life for people,
the worst possible life that you could imagine. Literally, like you wouldn't want to live in a shitty 1-bed apartment that's fucking crammed in, and you've just got just enough space to fit all your belongings in. You don't want to work at some shit job for the rest of your life that makes you depressed and hate your job, and you don't even want to work there. You don't want a partner that treats you like shit. If anything, it's actually easier to visualize the life you do want once you visualize the life you don't want.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not motivated by money and going out to get all of these things and cars and girls, be motivated by fear. Yeah. Be motivated by fear and staying the same, because that's most of people's their nightmare lives. Staying the same now.
Yeah.
How many people do we know? We hate their job, want to get out, we've got to move, got to do that.
But they do anything about it? No. Still turn up every day and won't do nothing about it.
So if if you're not making your dream life, you're making your nightmare life. So you better do something now.
To put a lid on that as well, Goggins puts it perfectly in. The reason why Goggins' entire life changed was because he had like an epiphany when I think he was in hospital, where he saw God, and God had a billboard next to him with all the things that he could have been. And this is who he ended up being.
Yeah,
this is what you were meant to do. You were meant to be the top Royal Navy Marine. You were meant to do a Hell Week twice and complete it. You were meant to do all these things this was the life that was destined for you, but you just didn't work hard enough for it. And you had all the power to do it.
That's soul destroying. That's enough. If you're not motivated by that, and it just click off this podcast. I don't even want you on the air, swear to God.
Well, and this whole kind of topic of discipline and motivation and life kind of swings us into the next topic anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say about being stoic and stoicism, yeah. So obviously stoicism's kind of a philosophy that was made,
fucking years ago back
in the 400s or whatever it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, like before Christ, BC,
yeah. So what would you say, I don't know whether you know much about like the history behind stoicism, but what would you kind of define stoicism as to our audience?
Best putting it, I'd say it's kind of the development of self-control, learning to take things as they are rather than what you want them to be, being in control of your emotions. It was originally brought up, like we said, in the Greek and Roman era of like 200 to 400 BC, mostly practiced in like Athens and Greece by a guy named Zeno. And this kind of philosophy was widespread across the Roman Empire, across a lot of the Western world. And the way, again, I perceive it is just being in full control of your own emotions, not taking anything as how you feel about it, but taking it as the situation is, just taking things for what they are, basically, and kind of overcoming any kind of destructive emotions that are going to negatively impact your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I'll tell that's a pretty good explanation of it, to be honest. It's just about not flipping, isn't it, really? Like, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, everything's going to happen for a reason. It'll work out.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, like you said, Zeno had created it. I don't know what Zeno's full name was, but I know his name was Zeno.
I think it's Zeno of Cilium.
Right, okay. So
which is a place in Greece.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So what I know from it is...
it's now known as Cyprus.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't know that. So Zeno obviously was some kind of philosopher, wasn't he? He was one of the original philosophers. And before it was obviously called Stoicism, it was called Zenonism, wasn't it? And I don't know how it went from Zenonism to Stoicism. And the only reason we don't know, obviously, about any of his work is because it was going back that far, his work got lost. And that's why you hear about people like Marcus Aurelius and that kind of thing, and other Stoics.
Yeah, in that time.
So I think that's obviously where it had started at. So I think...
What's the benefit of Stoicism?
I think...
What's the benefit of being Stoic?
Stoic, I'd say that's the thing that leads into building habits and things the most. I think it's about taking emotion out of things, and I think that's something that we do so much in today's society.
Being emotional beings, we are.
Yeah, and I think obviously it's normalised to bring your emotions into it now, which is good, but it can have a negative impact on it as well. So, for example, if I'm going to go on the Stairmaster tomorrow morning, well, what's the time now?
Yeah.
It's like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Why am I worrying about it and dreading about it now? I haven't got to do it until tomorrow. So I'm literally wasting so much mental energy on something that I'm not even doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about taking the emotion out of things and just getting them done. They obviously had a lot of a mad different life to us. In terms of there was no sitting behind a desk and getting money on the internet and doing all these crazy things that we do, even just general things like going to get a coffee from a coffee shop and that kind of thing.
Well, people back then, they were based on merit and value, like what you can actually bring to the table.
Can you hunt?
Yeah, can you hunt? Can you make art? Can you write poetry? Can you cook? Can you build? Have you got an intellectual brain to build up philosophy and architecture? It was a totally different life. Now it's based on, now it's based on who the fuck knows, and realistically, like who the fuck knows. It's not down to. I mean, you could argue definitely that jobs are, based on merit essentially, but realistically, that's based on merit from a piece of paper that anyone can forge. Basically, I can say I've got A's and B's and C's in English and etc. Of course, for some advanced high jobs, you're going to need specific qualifications that they may or may not
Check.
ask for.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you did what did you say? You've gone to uni.
Wow.
Oh,
Whoa. So, carrying on.
Carrying swiftly on.
But no, I think that really links into social media so well, and I think for people who are content creating and things like that, they'll get disheartened by that they haven't got so many followers compared to the next man when they haven't been doing it for so long. Because I think social media is only like it's a time thing. You'll get followers over time. It's not going to happen in one day. And I think what a person with 10 followers might have better value, better morals, better everything than someone who's got 100k. They just don't have the social status, and they'll get disheartened by that. And they've got to keep pushing. You've got to stay consistent.
Whereas if you stayed unemotional to the subject, so you just thought, I'm just gonna, and it does link perfectly into social media, and just start. Don't worry about what content you want to upload. Like, obviously, worry about what you actually want to put out. Don't just be uploading random shit that's giving no value. Like, obviously, the base is bring value to the marketplace. So work out what it is that you can do in your skill set to bring value, whether that's talking, drawing, cooking, creating, whatever that may be. And then push that to just upload. And like I've said, we met you about this conversation countless times. And it's like, just fucking upload. Don't worry about the time. Don't worry about what it is. How, like, make it, as long as you put in the best effort that you can possibly do, then there's nothing else you can do to that. Everything else is just a time bomb. It's like what we've been saying about, us doing the podcast and us uploading on social media. It's just as once you flood it and there's almost a backlog of content that you can put out. There's like no chance that you're not going to be noticed if the value you're bringing is perceived as valuable to the marketplace.
Yeah, no, totally.
And then if it's not perceived as valuable to the marketplace, you need to then reassess, meditate on it, visualize what might be the problem. Again, use other people's content for your own
reference.
Yeah, for your own reference, for your own.
Like it's a bit like I'll let you carry on with that. But a bit like Mayweather. So when Mayweather was coming up, he was like, I want to be a bit like Tyson, but I want to move like Ali. And he said he took loads of little bits from different boxers. And it's a bit like that. You can be authentic and you might know what you want to get across, but you might want to just take a little sprinkle from him and her, put it all together and make yourself.
How do you make the perfect fruit salad? You bring a bunch of different other fucking fruits in. You make it the best fucking fruit salad you possibly can.
I was sitting there like,
yeah, he's got me there.
Fruit salad.
He's got me on the spot. How much protein?
Chicken and rice. No, I know what you mean. So,
but you actually mentioned a person that I've got in my notes actually, which brings me perfectly onto what I've been learning about this week actually. What? So we've been setting each other a little task to kind of learn something each week. And then kind of bring it to the podcast and see where our knowledge base is at. We kind of touched on him earlier. Marcus Aurelius, the GOAT, did so much in the Roman era. It perceived pretty much as a god to the Roman people. Man, rulers are just something I've been really fucking diving into, just finding it interesting. I think when we look back at history itself is something that's really interesting to me anyway. And when we look back in time and we see where we're at now compared to where the rulers and the emperors and the kings were back 1,000, 2,000 years ago, then what is the fundamental difference in it? What is the fundamental difference? What's the difference in the people? What's the difference in society? What's the difference in traditions? What's the difference in the people who are running the country and their beliefs and their traditions? Like, what's the difference? Like, have we actually got better or have we got worse since back in the days? And again, I know you asked me last week about social media. Has it improved or decreased the economy?
Yeah. So I think I'll start off with Marcus Aurelius first because I just had a little quick story on him. So obviously there was a guy called Hadrian and he was the emperor before Marcus Aurelius. Yeah. He was the emperor when Marcus Aurelius was growing up. So Marcus Aurelius, as he was growing up, it was only about 6 or 7 and I think his family died from an early age. So obviously he was adopted into a new family. And Hadrian, this emperor, he took a liking to Marcus from a young age, and he was like, there's something about this boy that I can just see. Obviously, he was way too young to make him emperor, though. Obviously, he was only like 7 or 8 years old. Yeah. But he wanted to keep him involved because he wanted him as his understudy. Yeah. I don't think Hadrian had any children.
No, he didn't.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't think he did. Or he had kids, but they weren't deemed, fit to be an emperor, that kind of thing. And adoption was a really big thing back then. So what Hadrian did was, almost made Marcus an understudy. So he made somebody else emperor after his reign.
Yeah.
And this guy basically, or no, sorry, as Hadrian was as it was in Hadrian's reign, he kind of employed this guy to teach Marcus, and Marcus became his understudy on what it would be like to be an emperor.
Okay.
So this guy obviously became the emperor after Hadrian had passed, and Marcus actually writes him about his book. He's got like a little letter at the front or the back if you've read Meditations. Read Meditations if you haven't read it. Make sure you get a good version though, because it's translated from Greek, so it's a little bit hard to read. It's quite
Audible's got a good one, or like Ed said, find the proper translation.
Check it out first. And so this guy obviously became emperor, and Marcus already knew his ways. And this guy, I don't know what his name was, but Hadrian's gone at this point. He's got the choice of whoever he wants to make emperor. Like he could just fuck Marcus off if he wanted to, but he didn't. And that's why Marcus writes about him. He's like, "Thank you for all the wisdom and value that you brought me, and obviously thank you for sticking to your word after like 40 years or something it was." And Marcus actually had a really good reign because he actually come in at a good time of the emperor was in a good space, and I think it was more for him to manage rather than build. And it was some kind of plague they went through. I'm not too sure what plague it was at that time.
Anthelian or something like that. Athelian plague or something like that.
And he managed to get through that. And I think that was obviously like a bit of a demise in his reign, I suppose. But I think that was basically his reign. But it's
all in all,
a mad story.
All in all, he was one of the founding figures in Western society in that period of time, and is classed as I think the last good ruling Roman emperor.
That's why it's so
and out of five, I think there's 5 good emperors, the 5 good Roman emperors, and I think he's the last of the 5. And then after that, it's pretty much the Roman Empire toppled. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's a total topple after that.
I think back to like your original question though, I think obviously the people who came before us are so-called masters. They're not our masters, they're our teachers. That's what we should be better in. That's what we should be aiming towards.
Exactly.
And going back to your original question, have we kind of gone towards that or gone away from it? Because I think I can't remember the quote off the top of my head, but Joe Rogan always says it is like tough times create hard men, and hard men create tough times. Sorry, soft times. Soft times create soft men, and I think we're in that soft men era now. So it's hard to say because obviously those guys have accomplished what they were set out to do: stop the hard times and have the soft times. So I think obviously, they have set themselves. They've accomplished what they wanted to do, but has it had a negative effect? I don't know, because I think a lot of people, if you talk to them about it today, including me, probably a couple of months ago, I didn't know what Stoicism was. And it's mad that we've got this philosophy that is so really unknown. So deep rooted and so unknown. Integral to our lives now. We just don't do it. We do completely the
imagine if society was in a stoic way. Like imagine if Stoicism was our natural culture.
It'd be wild. You just have beasts everywhere. But to be honest, I do think I don't know whether it's kind of like the Western world, so to speak, or maybe just like these kind of countries that we're familiar with now. But I don't know whether they have like all of these habits and social media and all these kind of things. So when I look at some okay, here's a classic example. You look at Dagestan, where Khabib's from. So for anyone who doesn't know, Khabib was like the UFC champion, and he's retired now. But they don't come from a place where they have social media. They don't come from all these nice houses. They live in mountains, don't they? And have you noticed they're just bringing through UFC prodigy after prodigy after prodigy, and you're not getting all these. Think of how small Dagestan is, just like a little island. It's like an island.
Let's have a look how much the population is.
Yeah, go on. So I think to be producing that many kind of successful people, it's got to be a higher percentage than it is in, say, obviously England or America, or anywhere in the Western world, because you've got to think, we've got too much access to social media and just living an easy life, really.
No, you're not wrong at all. And to be honest, that it just perfectly, like the West is fucking falling, boys. Like we're not seeing it. It's happening in real time. The West is literally falling. The amount of videos I had to pump out today. The boys have sent me a couple of videos as well. And where do I even start, honestly?
Start with Barbie.
Start with Barbie, he says. I have to take the glasses off for this one. Wow.
Intellectual Sims gone, mate.
Yeah. Degenerate Sims came out. Hot takes are about to flow. So I'll get the small status up that I wrote today. But essentially, the backstory was... I heard that Barbie was coming out. Margot Robbie taking the lead role in it, thinking amazing. You know, Margot Robbie, she's a beautiful female. I think every person on the planet could agree with that. It'd be nice to see her in a woman-led film for young girls. Thinking, cool, would be a good film. Hoping that it fucking does well. Thought nothing else of it. Film releases, it's smashing box office hits and breaking records. I'm like, brilliant, amazing, things doing well. Then I start seeing like podcasts and like reviews and people saying about it's got this negative connotation to it, and there's all these underlying subliminal messages. So of course I had to take a look into it, because why would I not? If there's something going on inside of the social media realm that's potentially poisoning our children, then of course I'm going to have a look into it. So the base is essentially, and sorry, there's going to be some spoilers. Spoiler alert! But you don't want to see this film anyway. Trust me, it's terrible. It's awful. But the premise of the film is essentially, of course, what you'd think. The first half an hour are just normal jokes that you some classic Barbie jokes. You know, she thinks she's a Barbie, goes into the shower doesn't turn on because she's in Barbie world. Like, no shower.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she drinks water, and there's no water in the bottle because she's in Barbie world. Yeah, funny. Okay, that's it. That's about the end of the jokes. Then after that, they're in Barbie world. Every man in Barbie world is named Ken. Every man's Ken. Cool. Ken is essentially the side character to Barbie. So, And again, I want to make it very clear, I'm not shitting on women at all. Like, women are amazing creatures. They have the best job on the planet to, again, create more life. That's the only reason why we're here. Women are the essential reason for that. Anyway, so they get shipped off to fucking the real world, and Barbie's instantly attacked with misogyny and sexism. Guys are calling her out, saying, "Give us a smile, Blondie," which I think is a line that hasn't been used since the 50s.
Who says Blondie?
Who says, "Give us a smile, Blondie"? Like, then she's instantly just met with a total, it's misogynistic. The patriarchy is clearly running things here. Like, men run the world, and Ken starts to get like. Obviously, Ken's been the side man the whole time. Like, he starts to realise, the patriarchy's the shit. Like, wants to start. Now, again, the reason why I say the movie is trash, there's no character continuation of Barbie's character at all. Like, she's supposed to be this doll, this dumb figure from Barbie world. She's a plastic doll, but yet she's like making references and making like educated connotation. Like, there's so much stuff that doesn't add up to it, and the story doesn't make sense at all. There's like Will Ferrell in there for like funny jokes that just aren't funny, and like the Mattel board are supposed to be like these evil people, and they're all men, but the Mattel board is like 45% women. There's like 5 women and 6 men, and it was run by a woman for 30 years. Like, there's all this there's all this stuff that doesn't make any sense in the film. Anyway, Ken starts to love the patriarchy. Barbie obviously realizes like she keeps again having like these flashbacks of like she doesn't really know, and she just want to live and all this. Again, it's so strange. The whole film. Again, I haven't seen it, and I'm glad I haven't seen it. And the reason why I haven't seen it is because I watched a 40-minute review by Ben Shapiro, which was bad enough to watch Ben have to review it. It's fucking hilarious. But anyway, so again, I want to remind people this is a children's. It was marketed as, people are arguing me on Twitter and TikTok saying it wasn't marketed as a not a kids film. It's PG-13, which essentially 13 is a teenager, but I would argue a 13-year-old shouldn't be listening to jokes like essentially gay jokes, homosexual jokes about beaching brothers off. Beaching.
Can you do that again for me?
No, chill. So yeah, there's all kind of homosexual subliminal messaging in there. Again, the word patriarchy is used about 10 times.
You don't know what that is as a 13-year-old.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't anyway.
13-year-old girls are not in there going, "This makes so much sense. Men run the world. Women need to run the world." It was a doll. It was a figurine.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be brought to life.
It's supposed to be Ken and Barbie. Love each other. They live in their
could have been
playhouse.
like the whole movie could have been like how Ken and Barbie meet.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
So why again is this being used to push as an instrument to push feminist and matriarchal ideologies? Again, it's just a blatant attack on men and the patriarchy. And again, the people might ask like, "Oh well, what's the issue with men being shit on and women being empowered and this, that, and the other?" Like, why are we shitting on men? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why does empowering women always have to be sidelined with shitting on men? We should just be able to empower women.
Yeah.
What does it
Empower
cover?
everyone.
Empower everyone.
Do you know what I mean?
Like again, you know, and we've had this conversation about equal pay, and that's another conversation for another day. I'll stick on track.
Yeah.
The ADHD is kicking off. So
it's funny you say that though, because what did I say to you earlier? One of my mates messaged me after I'd called her, and she didn't answer, and she kind of called me back and was just like, "Oh, I've got your call. You're good. I've just come out of the cinema, so I didn't answer your call." And I was like, "Oh yeah, so what you been up to? What did you watch?" She was like, "Oh, I went to watch the Barbie film." So I was just like, you know, how was it? And she goes, I hadn't said anything about any
does
views
she know
that
about
we're pushing on, or any. Like, I'm not trying to push views on people, but you know what I mean. Anything about. Like,
did you think it was misogynist? Yeah.
But the first thing that she goes, "Oh, I'm not gonna lie," and she's like a normal person, and she just goes, "Oh, you were shitting on men." Like, I felt quite uncomfortable watching it. Actually, that was just someone normal who wouldn't even blink an eye to anything. They just
went there to enjoy the film.
Just went there to watch the film.
So the directors, both of them unknown directors, both made awful films, and the female director is a feminist director. She's a feminist filmmaker, so she literally makes films that are about feminism. Right. And again, let me just get the feminism meaning up, which is that feminism meaning is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes, which I am absolutely for.
Yeah.
If anything, by that, I'm a feminist. But the way feminism is used as another weapon, again, I'll carry on. So again, feminism, and again, I was just saying this, feminism suits females when it suits them. Where are the females who are standing up for the transgenders, who are beating the shit out of women in UFC, or swimming and crushing women in swimming, all kinds of sports? That men are dominating women, that they're mediocre in men's sports, and then coming into a women's sport and absolutely dominate. Where are the women saying that's not right? I got sent a video the other day, a transgender woman, saying women think they're the gatekeepers to periods. Women think they're the gatekeepers to pregnancy and giving birth. Well, they're not. Yeah. Where are the women who are standing up saying, who the fuck is this idiot? Thinking that, and again, why would you want to have periods? Why would you want to give birth? Why would you want to go through the menopause? These are all things only women can do biologically. Anyway, finishing up to the point. If a war kicks off tomorrow, men get drafted. Women, yeah, okay, again, we can come to the exception, but we don't speak about the exception until we talk about the rule first. Yeah. Which is, men will get drafted. It'll be 99.999% men. Yeah, there'll be a couple of women. And yes, women have to hold it down here and they still have their job. But this is it. Women have
designed at different things.
Men are designed to be better at the things women are not good at. Women are designed to be good at the things men are not good at. That's why we complement each other. That's why nuclear households, men and women being together, and a powerhouse where the man leads the way, because man a natural warrior, protector, provider. So that's how a nuclear system works. They don't want that. They want to break up the households. One of the girls commented on this post as well, saying they think it was made literally to break up, nuclear households. So again, back to my point. You call a firefighter, your house is on fire, you hope a fucking strong fireman turns up. You fucking get
robbed.
Fireman. What did I say? Fireman. Fucking what I'm saying. But this is all the problem. Yeah. This is the problem. Anyway, your house gets robbed. Wait, let me finish. Your house gets robbed. You hope a fucking strong policeman turns up. You want a building to get built. You hope that strong men turn up to build to fucking lift the shit up. Yeah. At the end of the day, there's 45% women on the board of Mattel. The cast is pretty much women as well. So again, like we were just saying, how hard is it for women in this patriarchal world to be successful? Margot Robbie's not earning absolutely millions. She's not the highest paid female actor in Hollywood and the most probably beautiful one on the planet. How is it so hard for women, Ed, to just rise up and be successful in this world? When will there be equality, Ed? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I just think to finish that point, you hit it on the head, to be honest. End of the day, we've got different things to do on the planet. Yeah, we complement each other and we both need each other. So that's what I've got to say in it.
There's nothing else to fucking say about it. So yeah, ladies, don't go and watch Barbie. I absolutely love females. They're the best. They're the best. Let's just keep it at that. They're the best. But you need to be told the truth sometimes. And this movie is most definitely an attack on men for absolutely no reason. It's been a child figure and an icon for absolutely centuries, and it's just been torn up and thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
And again, I talked a lot about the fucking fall of the West, but I mean, every single day, Ed, we're slapped in the face with something new that is just, you're asking yourself why. Again, a video I got sent today, LGBTQ, same-sex children's book in a library in Ireland.
Wild.
The question I have to ask is, what's the benefit of this? What is the benefit, Ed, of a man becoming a woman and a woman becoming a man? And then, on top of that, educating that to children. What's the benefit of that?
It's not real.
So why are we teaching it?
I don't know. You tell me.
Ed, I feel like I'm the only one fucking who's saying anymore.
You're going to have to save them, bro.
Well, it's down to me. It's down to me and a few other very masculine, some toxically men. And the truth just needs to be told at the end of the day. And it's harsh truths that need to be told, because it's come so far that the light truth and like kind of just relax, stop doing all that. Like it's gone past that now. It's like you took the piss, you've gone way over the mark. You're literally trying to take over children and brainwash children into false propaganda and education.
Yeah,
it's a scary sight. And me and you said this earlier, and we kind of had a back and forth earlier about, you were like, well, realistically, well, if you want to say, what did you say earlier to me?
Yeah, so you basically said I'm part of the problem for not, sound, just making my dinner. I'm part of the problem, all right.
Don't think that we don't get into it.
I'm basically part of the problem that why people are pushing trans on people.
But why did I say that?
Because it's like the whole thing when it goes back to bullying in school and stuff, and they say, if you don't report it, you're as bad as the other person. Do you know what I mean? So it's a similar thing.
Right, now you're making it sound like snitching. Get that out the conversation. So why did I say that you're part of the problem?
Because I'm not assisting in,
actually fighting the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not fighting the problem.
But yeah. And I think
so. Basically, I'm a problem.
He's part of the problem, and I totally understand it. Like he said, and his argument is, or do you want to say your argument?
No, definitely. It's what my argument was. It's like I don't really care what people do in this world. I'm doing me. If you want to go and be a unicorn, you be a unicorn. Like I'm not really bothered. Like I'm just doing me. As long as I succeed in what I want to do, I don't care.
I get that totally, and that is the same thing as when we laugh at people on the podcast on like the street interviews, and they're like, "All right, well, if I want to go and fuck a cat, you're right with that."
I don't think so. No.
No, and it like morally, it's not right, and it.
Yeah.
So again, it's not the comparison, but it's the belief that you have that, oh, okay, well, if everyone wants to, if you want to do what you want to do, then it's all right. It doesn't affect me. And again, me fucking the cat doesn't affect you.
Do you not fuck pussy then?
He's got jokes. But essentially by not, but again, I kind of understand it because, and I'm not saying this is you, but the mentality behind it and the cancel culture, and I don't want to make it around the cancel culture, that's kind of a side point, is that people are fearful that if they say the real opinion, especially on camera, that they're going to be looked at in a different light to people that may subliminally feel the same way as you, but don't actually want to say it.
They'd agree with you and they'd comment on your stuff and like it, but they wouldn't go out there and push it themselves because they care too much about the repercussions and what the
world actually thinks, or even on a layer deeper than that, they actually believe the stuff you're saying, but because the way society sees it, they'd still shit on you and be like, "Oh you shouldn't speak that." Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's normal, but that in
their head, they know it.
Yeah, and I think, and I think, like you just said, I think on a deep level, everyone knows it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like even the people that are advocating for it, like I think they even look at it and say, "Yo, this is going a bit far. Like what the fuck's going on? Like it's getting a bit wild. Like how to be gay, how to argue with Muslims. Why are we teaching that to kids?
Just learn how to get rich.
Stay stoic, do your shit, don't worry about no one else." And again, I know it comes down to this, but like my argument back to your argument was that it might not affect you now, but you as a man want to have a nuclear family, you want to have children, and I guess most people would want that. And it might not be affecting you directly now. And I guess you asked me this just before we started filming as to like, why do you think you're so like impacted and like driven on delivering this message now when like it just kind of come out of nowhere for you? And I think it was the realization that they're really attacking the children in it. And I've got 4 sons. I've got all boys. Right. So for me to even have the thought of my son being in a dress and thinking, and again, I want to make it clear, gender euphoria is a real issue, and the people that deal with it, my heart goes out to. It's an absolute real condition. But what we're dealing with in the West is not that at all on a large scale basis. A minority party are becoming the leading political party around in the West, and this is wrong on so many levels. Like, they can do whatever the fuck they want in the comfort of their own home. I've said this absolutely a million times. Got absolutely no problem with gay people, trans people. If you want to do that inside your own home, carry on. If you want to dress up as a woman, carry on. No problem with it. But when you're pushing that onto my children and saying that's right, your ideology, like you saying, Ed, I believe that strawberries are green. And I'm going to make sure my children believe that strawberries are green. And I'm going to make sure your children believe that strawberries are green. Or the simple equation of 1 + 1 = 3. You tell people for a long enough, and this is where my point I'm getting to, of it might not affect you now, but on a long-term basis, if this continues on a normalisation, in 15, 20 years, that will be normal to educate children in high-class education, at secondary school education. Yeah. And then when your kids are in that, then you'll be fucked off about it. And then it's too late. So like I say, 1 + 1, 1 + 1 = 3 on a long enough basis will equal 3.
Definitely. It's like those kids, I don't know if you've ever seen them. I've heard about a couple of them where their parents will say to the kid, like, oh no, like you're actually sick. Have you seen them? Like, where they're like, you're ill.
They're affirming it.
You've got a disability. You've got this.
Like the kids who are saying they're trans.
No, not about trans. Like,
they're just pushing.
I've seen it in films.
Illnesses
on
kids.
They make a kid believe that he's ill. And like, I've seen it in a couple of films. I'll have to find out and come back to you. But
that's wild.
And this one guy, like, he thinks he's ill. There's that film. I don't know. Actually, I don't think it's that film. But there's one film where it's like, oh, he can't go outside. You know, he's allergic to everything outside, and like he didn't know otherwise. You know, that's what he thought. And his mum was feeding him whatever tablets wise. And then one day after his mum went somewhere, he figured out that I don't need these tablets. I'm a normal functioning person. Went outside, did this, did that, and it's like if you push something into someone's brain for long enough,
they'll fucking believe it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So it's up to you, Sim. It's up to you, mate.
It's up to me.
You have to save one at a time.
Save the West. Yeah, one at a time, day by day. Take it by ear. It's
I'm gonna wrap it up there.
Sweet.
So
sweet. I got one West. Actually. I got one last one before we wrap it up, which leads into the transgender. So one last transgender thing.
Go on.
A new one popped up the other day. You'll like this one, Ed. You like this one, Ed. Quinn, Canadian footballer, trans man, woman transitioning to a man, still plays in the women's league.
What if she? If you're a man, go to play with the men. I don't get it.
Woman wants to be a man, still plays in the women's league. By choice.
That's obviously she just wants the visuals. She just wants of a man.
Yeah, she just wants to look like a man.
Yeah, just doesn't want the physiology.
Just doesn't like so.
Well, can't get the physiology.
So this is what we're saying again. Like women, men will go into women's sport and absolutely dominate a woman, but a woman will not change into a man's sport and know willingly she will get dominated in that sport.
Yeah,
it's just another layer of proof. We'll call it there. It's been a great one again, Saunders.
It has.
Every week.
A massive one.
You know we get it in.
We do.
Back again next week.
We do. Think on that. Get rich. Stay stoic. And Sim, don't fuck pussy.
Don't fuck cats.